So what we're going to do is we're going to do something that's a bit experimental. We've never done a whole bunch of these things before, so we thought we'd try them out on you, because if we blow anyone up, then you go and we save the kids. Is that all right? Cool. All right, so actually, first of all, I've got a really over-the-top video that starts the show off. Do you want to see it? Yeah. We might as well play it. All right. It's a bit over the top, but we'll give it a go. All right. We hide at this point. We hide. All right, now, it's time for dessert. You ready? Yes, you got nothing in it. Don't eat off the floor. That's so naughty. Right, so what we thought we'd do is we'd try this experiment. Now, everyone here loves healthy food, don't you? Yes. That wasn't very excited, I have to say. But this is an experiment. This is what the experiment is. It's an experiment in trying to use the opposite. So we're trying to use unhealthy food to explain about healthy food. Now, this may work, it may not. Frankly, I just don't know. So you are the guinea pigs for this. So what we're going to do, first of all, you've had a long lunch, and I want to see if we can make someone sick. So what we're going to do, we've downloaded this thing called a seismometer. And what a seismometer, anyone know what a seismometer does? No? It measures earthquakes. Exactly, measures earthquakes. So we're going to try and make an earthquake here, and then we will tell you. We've never done this before either. So I need everyone to stand up. Everyone stand up. Yeah. Okay. And what I need you all to do, and this hopefully will make you vomit, is hello, love, how you doing? Is to all jump at the same time. Okay. And what we want to do is we want to make the ground shake. Okay. All right. But you got to say quick practice one. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, jump. So jump when I say jump, rather than 3. Or shall I go 1, 2, 3 or 3, 2, 1? What's better? I've no idea. 3, 2, 1. All right, 3, 2, 1 it is. So it'll be 3, 2, 1 and then jump. All right. So quick practice. 3, 2, 1, jump! All right, that was rubbish because everyone sort of fell down at different times. So it's going to be 3, 2, 1, jump! Like that. All right. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so I'm going to put this on the floor. Start it off. It's preparing. Okay, let's put it right next to Joe there, you go. It's sensing. Okay, you ready? All right. 3, 2, 1, jump! Oh! Okay, and I'll stop it there. And now, Joe actually is a geophysicist. So, Joe, I haven't pressed analysis yet.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Oh, that's better than we thought.
That's pretty good. That's 3.5?
3.5, yeah.
So,
So we work this out. How do we work this out?
So you move the ground.
You can sit down now. That's fine. Well done. Very good. Good jumping.
You displace the ground by 3.5 millimeters, and with a bit of science and a bit of guesstimation, that's about 2.5 on the Richter scale. Woo!
Is that a bit rubbish?
Well, in earthquake standards, it's not so good because, well.
So we worked out how that relates to the world's, to the UK's biggest earthquake.
Yeah.
Now, the biggest earthquake in the UK was 6.1, 6.2 off Dogger Bank.
6.3.
6.3.
I feel 6.3.
This is Dogger Bank, which is a big area between Britain and Denmark, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
And now so you got a displacement of about 3 means that is what the UK's biggest earthquake would have felt like in the Shetland Islands. So that was sort of okay, but so you've got to try a bit harder. So as you saw, I do a bit of children's television, so I'm quite over enthusiastic, and for an hour's worth of me is quite interesting. More than an hour's really flipping irritating. But I will be upbeat, so I need you to kind of interact with me. Okay? You up for this? Yeah. Are you up for this? Yeah. That's more like it. All right, especially you. Right. Now, so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of flip the scale. So this is going to be called the Quantum Mechanical Chocolate Factory. Now, my world is the world where you combine science and food, and you see what happens. Because when you look really closely at food, and a lot of my TV programs are like this. When you look really closely at food, what you start playing with is science and chemistry, and that's when you can do some really extraordinary things with food. And the idea behind this is to make food absolutely fascinating. And if you make it fascinating for kids, then they'll be that much more interested. And if they're interested, then they'll care a little bit more about what they eat. So this is, rather than telling them to eat one thing rather than another, this is trying to get them to be fascinated by food, so getting to eat better sort of by osmosis. Now, this may not work. It might be a really rubbish idea, but we'll give it a go. So the first thing we do, I've got to just check my notes because I can't remember what we're going to do here. So, so we're going to sort of tear apart some of the foods that you know and love, but we're going to try and invent a couple of brand new ones as well. Now, the first thing we're going to do is, we've been looking at a bit of technology and coding as well. So here we have, is this Daisy or Poppy? It's Daisy.
I think it's Daisy.
This is Daisy, and this is Daisy. Now, Daisy is, we try and also combine sort of technology and coding and things like that with food as well. And you can do that because there's a lot of robotics involved in the food industry, and you can play with a lot of these things. So this is Daisy, and she's got a little gift. So is she going to work? Ah, she's going to work. She's going to lay a massive turd. Thank you very much, Daisy. So this big turd. You have to picture the scene, really. Thank you very much, Daisy. You have to picture Joe wasn't controlling that by remote control at all, were you, Joe? No. Now, you have to picture the scene. Now, somebody was wandering along in the jungle one day, and they stumbled across this, and they thought, that looks like a big poo. I'll give it a taste. And they kind of tore it open, and they tasted it, and it tasted absolutely gopping. It tasted really disgusting. But they persevered with it, and they tried it out. They've tried, literally for about 500 years, they've tried new, different ways to try and work out how to do something with this stuff. Now, on every table, there should be a couple of little paper pots. Okay? You're right there. A couple of little paper pots. Now, grab those paper pots. They've got two things in there. You've got a sort of a big bean, and also some little shards, some little brown kind of grindings. Those are, can you see them? Yeah? Okay, so you can taste those little bits. So everyone grab one of those little bits and have a little taste. If you've got any food allergies, I'd rather you didn't, to be honest, but they are fine to eat. So have a little taste and see what you think. So that is the result of this thing here. Now, let's get this up on the screen. Oh, easy, Tiger. Not that one again. Let's get rid of that and go live. Here we go. Okay, so that is one of these fellas here. Anyone know what this is? Cocoa pod, exactly. This is a cocoa pod. And those little brown bits they're called cocoa nibs. So you take the cocoa pod, you get the beans out of the middle, you ferment them, which kills them. It stops them from being able to grow into a seed. And then they're dried out and crushed. And if you have a little taste of them, I'm not sure about you, but you taste them, and they're not particularly pleasant, but there's something quite magical in there. There's something a bit weird, and the fats and the way that it feels on your tongue is quite extraordinary. There's something there. And that's why people experimented with it. And that's why we need to carry on experimenting with food and playing with food, because you never know what you might discover. So after quite a lot of experimentation, they managed to turn that pod into this baby here. Oh yeah! That's the biggest chocolate bar on the market. It's about 6 kilos of chocolate. And what's amazing about chocolate is that I know we generally want people to eat less chocolate, but it's an extraordinary tool for talking about food. Now, the chemistry of chocolate is the most complex. It's the most complex food on the planet, both in terms of flavour and in terms of the way that it's created. Now, I've made a little video which explains chocolate chemistry in 16 seconds. So let's have a quick look at this. Full screen there. So that's all from this amazing book called The Science of Chocolate. And all I want to show you with that is that how extraordinary our food is, that there's all these amazing bits of chemistry and physics involved in how it's made. It goes through so many different processes before that pod, that's a fresh one, got it at the end of my road actually, the greengrocer at the end of my road, £6.60, before that ends up becoming one of these. Now, the ingredients in chocolate are here. So let's go back live again. Movie recording. So the ingredients in chocolate. Actually, would you mind stashing that somewhere? It's going to get right in my way now. Thank you, Joe. The ingredients in chocolate are pretty much this. So we've got these are the cocoa beans, which then become the cocoa nibs that you've tried. And then you've got cocoa butter, which is basically crushed out of the cocoa bean itself. You've got this stuff here, which is milk powder, and then you've got sugar, and they're combined. But the way you have to do it is extraordinary. You have to do all these things called conching, and there's various different processes to jam all of the butter fat, the cocoa butter out of the bean. It's an unbelievably complex process, but sort of really beautiful as well. So what I thought what we'd do is we take apart a few little bits of chocolate and see how it works. So first of all, so those little nibs that you tried, they've got this weird, very complex flavour. It's almost like coffee, I think, in the amount of different layers of flavour that you got. So how does flavour work? Well, flavour is really interesting. So there's taste. Anyone know how many different tastes there are? How many different tastes? Shout it out if you know. 4? 7? 5. There's 5. So there's salty, sweet, bitter, sour, and umami, which is savoury. And it's really difficult to explain umami, but basically, if you eat it at what's it, that is savoury. That's umami. It's glutamate. So whenever you grate parmesan over your food, you're not really making it cheesy. You're adding a huge amount of glutamate. It's naturally occurring glutamate, more than any other food in the world, other than kombu seaweed. And so we play with the taste of it, but also you've got the smell. Now, the smell is a whole different thing. So although there's only 5 different tastes that you can taste, there are over 1 trillion different smells that you can smell. Now, smells are really, really fascinating. So what you get from smells is something called flavour volatiles. So, for instance, if you have a bit of cheese, I don't know if you were here last year, but we had some cheese that we froze with a fire extinguisher, and we sort of extinguished all of the smell because all the little volatiles in the cheese have to zip around to be able for you to smell them. It's a slightly different smell demo. Now, actually, Jim, can we turn all the lights out for a sec? So this is a bit of orange, and I'm going to just squeeze it over a flame. Just turn these lights out as well so you can see a bit more. There's my thing. There's the thing. No, where's the thing? There's the thing. Right, so it's just a bit of orange. And inside the orange are these things called vesicles, and they're these little sort of little zits of volatile chemicals called limonene. And if you squeeze it over a flame, let's turn it down a little bit. If you squeeze it over a flame, you can see how volatile they are. So that is all that limonene being squeezed out of the vesicles of the orange. And because it's so volatile, and because it's an oil, it's got lots of energy inside it, it makes this kind of flame like that. It's like a little sparkler. A really beautiful little way to do it. But, of course, you can't smell all of that over there. So what we thought we'd do is we'd invent a way of getting smells out to you guys. Jim, can we have all the lights back up again? In fact, can we have the house lights if you can as well, if that's not too tricky. So what we've got here is something that employs a bit of physics. It's called a vortex cannon. I need a volunteer, please. Who would like to volunteer? Are we allowed to use one of the kids to volunteer, do you think? Is that all right? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know, I can't make that choice. Tim, who would you like to come on? They need to be quite strong. Taller than a smaller. Brilliant. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to work here with Joe, because under here is Volga the vortex cannon. Now, she's slightly flimsy because we forgot a couple of bits. But what you're going to do is hold that there, okay, and pick it up. So, Joe, if you pick up that side. And sorry, I've forgotten your name.
Daisy.
That's Daisy, that's right. My daughter's Daisy, but you're Daisy the robot. So come with it, watch out for the side there. In fact, are you all right? Are you okay there? Okay, so now we're going to spin it up here like this. There we go. Now, this is a vortex. It almost hangs together, almost. And what it does is it plays with some extraordinary fluid dynamics. So watch this. We're going to fill it up with a little, actually, looks like I've got more on there. Yeah. Fill it up with a little bit of smoke. Now, I know you probably haven't got one of these hanging around in the school, but you can actually make smoke with a little bit of glycerine. So I just need to squeeze past you, Joe. Okay, and then, Daisy, are you holding that all right? Okay, so let's turn it around a little bit further that way. And then we pull it back, so there's a skin on the back of it. And when I let that go, a beautiful kind of smoke. Let's go a little bit further there. Oh, no, a little back of it, back of it. Okay, that one there. Yeah, it's beautiful. And it hit that one over. So what you've got there is something called a toroid. Are the smoke alarms on? Are we all right, Tim?
Yeah.
Should have asked. So what you've got there is it's called a toroidal vortex. So it's a ring. It's a smoke ring, but it's a ring like that. It's a toroid shape, and it's spinning on its own circular axis. So once you bear that in mind, I'll do one more, and you can have a look at it. I'll do a very slow one. And it's spinning around that circular axis. So they're really beautiful. So that's the brilliant bit of fluid dynamics. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use that to fire some smells at you. Now, smell is really interesting because it's a combination of chemistry and biochemistry, and that doesn't work. Biochemistry and memory. So when you smell something, you get these flavour volatiles, like you saw with the orange there. You're right holding that, Daisy? Okay. You get those flavour volatiles, they zip around the air, and if enough of them go up your nose, they will interact with these things called chemoreceptors, which are sort of behind your olfactory bulb. And that's how you analyse the smell. But there are, as I said, there's about 1 trillion different smells that you can distinguish. You won't be able to name them, but you'll be able to say that one is different from another, and there's about 1 trillion. People don't really know exactly how it works. There were a couple of theories which have been debunked relatively recently. But it's a beautiful system that you have. So what happens is that you analyse the smell, and then you patch it together with your memory of different smells. And that's how you say, okay, that smells like a banana, or that smells like cheese. And it's because you're interacting with both the chemoreceptors and your brain, which is remembering what it was. So what I've done is I've got a flavour company to split a very familiar flavour into 2 halves, neither of which should smell like the main flavour. So hopefully you'll be able to get the first half, so there's first 6 components of this flavour, and hopefully they shouldn't smell like the main one. In fact, they smell absolutely disgusting. So this is, I would say it's sort of a bit like vomity petrol, and we're going to fire that at you, and we'll see, nobody vomited the first time round, so hopefully this will make it happen. So... And then I want you to guess what you think it might be. Okay, come on. Oh, this stage just not quite big enough. All right. Okay, you're laughing too much over there. All right, we're going to get them first. All right, here we go. Ah, you ducked! She ducked! All right, get her on the floor. There we go. Ah, gotcha. Okay, now another one there. Okay, now over this side. Let's get the kids down here, see if they can guess what it is. Yay! Beautiful. And see if we can get everyone at the back. Oh, that's a good one. And then one over there. Very good. And then let's see if we can get all these guys right at the back over there. Oh, that one drifted up. And then right into the door over there. What? Very good. Okay, that's brilliant. Well done, everybody. Okay, so what does that smell like to you so far? Sick. Is it sweet corn? That's a really good guess. It is a little bit sweet corn. Anyone else? Sick. Anyone else? Vomit from the planet Zog? It's a bit grim. It's a bit grim, basically, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do is add the second half. So a lot of smells. This smell is actually made up of 32 different smells overall, but we've cut it down to 12 because that's the simplest way to do it. Right. So we've added the first one. Now this is basically it's a very common summer fruit. You feel me? Okay. Yeah. So we give one of the first one. And then a couple of the next ones, and we'll see if now you can guess what it is. Oh, yeah. Give me a big All right. Oh, sorry, Daisy. All right. Okay. You ready? All right, here we go. Oh, slam, bang in the face. And one over there. And one at the naughty table over here. Oh, she wasn't looking! Oh, one more over there. There we go. One over there. Two at the back. And then one right over there, so we can get Tim. Oh, I got intercepted on the way. One more there. Okay, so now it's a slightly simple version of this flavour. But what flavour do you think that is now?
I think
cheese.
You can let go.
Strawberry. It's strawberry. It's interesting you say that cheese, though, because there's a lot of very cheesy components in strawberry. It's really bizarre. As you're building it, they'll give you this flavour, and it's very cheesy. And then you get grassy flavours. And but when you blend them all together, it makes strawberry. Well done. Okay, Daisy, thank you very much. Give Daisy a round of applause. Very good. I can't actually see any of you now. It's a really bad idea. Okay, so now back to... So that's how the smell of these things work, and that's why we get all these really very complex flavours from chocolate, because chocolate has many, many different layers. There were something like 7,000 different components so far found in chocolate, and a lot of those are previously unknown to science. Polyphenols, they're called. And playing with flavour is a really interesting way to sort of tear food apart and get kids just fascinated by the stuff and how it works. Okay, so let's have a quick look at sugar. Now, anyone know... Oh, I've gone dead here. Come back. Anyone know what this stuff here is? Sugarcane. Brilliant. Okay. Now what I need is... I need an adult with anger issues to come up here. Who's got anger issues? Come on, people, get involved. Who wants to come and whack the heck out of something? Yes, okay, up we come. Right, you can come over here. What we've got for you is... What's your name, madam?
Sam.
Hello, Sam. Give Sam a little round of applause. Oh, stop! He hasn't done anything yet. We'll give him a big round in a minute. All right, Sam, I've got your colour. How did I know you were coming? Look at that. Okay, this is the world's most expensive piece of lab kit. About 5p. I mean, literally about 5p. Especially for you, my love.
Thank
there you
you.
go. All right, let's pop that on. Okay. Oh, you're good at this. Okay, now be very careful. Come up along here. So what you're going to do is you're going to extract some sugar. And what you're going to do is pop that there and beat the heck out of it. There we go. Be careful, though, okay? So one whack at a time, and then we'll have a think about it, all right?
Centre, middle, or...
I'd go for the centre, yeah. But don't put your hand there. Take your hand away. Yeah, all right. Very good. Oh, you really have got anger issues, haven't you? All right. Go on, give it a good old whoop. Oh! Give us a minute. Oh, there we go. I've got to go and wash that now. What are you like? Pop it in there. There you go. Consider it washed. There we go. Yeah, a little bit less than that, but go on. But keep going. You can do a few. Maybe you're all bleeding down. Come on. Oh, not with it. Get your fingers away. Get your fingers away. Oh, there you go. We need to break it down. That's good. And maybe down towards the end a little bit as well. Go on. Yeah, let's go. Okay. That's one thing away. Come on! Imagine it's Tim! Yeah, all right, stop. All right, there we go. So, there we go. There is all this beautiful bit there. Have a little taste of that. So what have you got there? What taste you get us now?
Not very sweet.
It's not that sweet, it's very true. So, it's the same. So there are two things that we get our sugar from. One is sugar cane, and one is sugar beet. And both of them are not that sweet. There's definitely a sweetness there, isn't
Yes,
it?
yeah.
But because you know that it's called sugar cane, you sort of expect a little bit more. Give it a big round of applause. Very good. Okay. You can keep the cake. You have to wear that for the rest of the show. All right. And what you've got is a huge amount of fibre inside there. So the way that you make sugar is by putting that through basically a massive mangle. But if you use sugar beet, you grate it. And then you steep it in water, and you... And the sugars dissolve into the water, and then you basically boil down the water, the solution, until you're left with sugar granules, basically. Now, sugar is extraordinary stuff, and I know that we're trying to get people to eat less sugar, but you can do the most extraordinary chemistry once you start playing with it. Sugar is basically, when you heat it up to something called hard crack, which is about 150 degrees, either side of 150, it changes its chemistry. It becomes an amorphous mass, but it's a crystalline amorphous mass, so it's got crystals in it, but they're all in a big jumble. And when that happens, it becomes a type of glass, and you can do some really, really strange and wonderful things with it. So here I've got some hard cracked sugar that we've then set and then just heated up to about 60 degrees, and we should be able to make something called angel hair with it. So let's get a little bit of light on that. So this is a whisk with the ends cut off it, and I'm just going to put that in there. It should be just about right. And then you get these, and then you get these little strands of it, like this, and you can pull them. So you can pull them like that, and this is basically what candy floss is. It's pulled sugar,
Very good.
and it's absolutely beautiful stuff. Tiny little strands, and because you change the chemistry of it, it becomes incredibly malleable.
Are you doing the food revolution?
And you can pull it, and it has these strong strands, so the crystals will line up, and you can pull them along in really long, thin lines. Very, very beautiful stuff to do. And then what we thought we'd try and do is some proper sugar spinning. Okay, Joe, you up for this? I think we'll have to do it together because we're going to take forever. So if you hold that end, and let's put the camera up there like that, and then. Oh, I've made it a little bit solid, but that should be perfect. Okay, so this is how you do sugar spinning. You get a nice...
Which way are we spinning?
That's a very good point. Let's go that way. I'll tie it up, and then... Oh, hang on. Quite tricky to do it. So then, once we've got it connected, it should... it's a little bit too... it's a little bit... too cold, but it's not too bad.
That's pretty good.
So then keep on, and you can do. I mean, this is just really easy. It's just ordinary sugar that you use from home. Okay, let's stop there. Thank you very much, Joe. Very good. And then, hopefully, we should be able to pull that off. And the thing about a knife steel is it's got lots of tiny little cuts all along it, so things don't stick to it too well. And you should be able to just pull it off like that. And you've got a little sugar spiral, look at that. Can't quite see it from there. But it's pretty good. Who wants to eat a sugar spiral? No, I better not. Actually, you go, serving kids sugar at a show all about healthy food. It's all bad. Good? Excellent. All right. Joe's all right. Okay, so what else are we going to show you? Now, cocoa butter. So what's quite interesting playing with sugar is that you can do some really, really fun things. Last year, I think we did we do some custard powder flame throwing? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I think we did.
Yeah.
Well, this is a brilliant way of showing where is the... It's when they hear the word calories and whether you should or you shouldn't eat food. Let them switch off. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of, when I was at school, people started talking to me about nutrition. I wasn't interested because it was very hypothetical, and things like calories and numbers don't really tell you that much without any kind of real-world reference. So, what I thought I'd do is show you what this is about. 20 calories. This is icing sugar. hope there's nothing I'm going to destroy here. This is icing sugar. It's about 20 or 30 calories. It depends on how much burns. And this is what happens when you transfer the chemical energy in that into heat energy. I think we're all right, Tim. I think we're all right. And the moment you do something like that, which is really easy to do, I mean, that literally, that's my garden hose with half a drinks bottle attached to the end of it. The moment you do something like that, you make it visual. You could probably even feel the heat of that. Could you feel it a little bit hot from there? And suddenly, the idea of nutritional calories becomes something a bit more real. And so that is probably 1/10 of the calories in a Mars bar. So imagine that fireball times 10. That's the amount of calories in a Mars bar. And so suddenly, you can start explaining things in a much more memorable kind of way. Okay, let's put that there as well. So what we had a look at was cocoa butter. So that's one of the other ingredients in chocolate. And cocoa butter has a huge amount of fat in it. Fat packs calories in really tight. So what we've done is we've made a candle completely out of cocoa butter. This is, I think, probably the least spectacular demo I've ever done in my life, but let's show you anyway. Where did I put my... Oh, I'll have to use this. So let's light this. I haven't, this is brand new, so I don't know if it's going to work or not, but let's see, give it a try. Yeah, it is the least spectacular demo on the planet. You can't quite see it from there, but it is. There you go. So that is that's the fat burning. Not that that's the most revelatory thing, but yeah, it's a very good example of the fact that there are calories in these foods. We also worked very hard yesterday on doing a demo with milk, didn't we? It was rubbish. So we're not going to show. You should theoretically, because milk has sugars in and it's got lots of fat in, you should be able to take milk powder and blow it over a flame. But the milk powder that we had, I think it was a bit kind of granular, wasn't it?
Yeah,
just
too heavy, just fell out.
It was rubbish. So that didn't work. So we're not going to show you that. The other thing, should we talk about the ketchup? Okay, I will explain this. We didn't manage to get our chocolate fountain working in time because we were in a bit of a rush. But chocolate does something really extraordinary. It does something called shear thinning. And this, again, is when you look at the sort of the physics of how these things work. Shear thinning is the fact that chocolate has to be under pressure for it to move properly, which is why chocolate fountains are a nightmare. Anyone ever had a chocolate fountain before? Yeah? You know, it's basically half oil and half chocolate. And the reason for that is chocolate does this extraordinary thing. It won't move unless you put it under pressure. And the same thing happens with ketchup on a bigger scale, which is why it's much easier to show you ketchup. Now, if you have a bottle of ketchup, you turn it upside down and nothing happens. Have you had that before? And everyone says whack it on the 57 to try and get the ketchup out. That's because you need that whack. You need there to be a little bit of shearing pressure, so a little bit of pressure against the ketchup for it to move. And it's the same thing with paint. If you've ever done any paint with that non-drip paint, it's exactly the same thing. It's a specially made thing where when you move it, when you're actually painting with it, it's a liquid. But the moment you stop putting pressure on it, it goes back to being a solid. And the same thing happens with ketchup. So the reason why all ketchup pretty much now is in a squeezy bottle is because that's when you can put pressure on it. So the moment you squeeze the bottle, this is going to be really unimpressive as well, isn't it? But hell, we might as well say it. So when you squeeze the bottle, everything in there is put under a little bit of pressure. So it moves and it becomes a liquid. So I squeeze it, and it becomes liquid. But once it's in there, it goes back to being a solid. So you can see that it's sat in there, but it's got these big sort of lumps all around there. And chocolate does the same kind of thing. So we made a chocolate river for a show that we did recently, and it was a nightmare because you have to add so much fat to it. And what you can do is when you're making chocolate to make it more liquid, what's interesting about chocolate is it hates water. You cannot dilute chocolate and make it more malleable with water, it literally just clags up and turns into a big mess. So you have to dilute it with other fats. So they add cocoa butter. So that was my rubbish cocoa butter technique to explain to you. Right, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to clear some of these things up here and then show you some stuff which is not so much about chocolate, but about other sort of weird and wonderful foods. And to give us a little bit of cover while we're doing that, I'm going to show you some videos. Now, there's a whole load of videos on my YouTube channel, and they're all aimed at kids. They're all very educational. Some of them are a bit cheeky, but they're all aimed at kids, and they're really fun. I know quite a few teachers who've used them in classes, and feel free to nick all of these ideas and redo them in your classes. So this is a couple of minutes of clips of those while we just reset up here. Hello, I'm Stefan, and I'm going to show you how to catch, how to make, how to find, how to cook iron. An amazing thing is happening right now. It's boiling all over again. So, what on earth is going on? I've absolutely no idea whatsoever. This is brand spanking new, look shiny, shiny, shiny. Ooh, oh yeah, look! We'll stop one there. Let's go again. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Oh, baby, that's good. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, little water droplets. Okay, question is, can you fry an egg on a piece of paper? Oh, yes you can! Look at the back. It is a little bit burnt. And you kind of want to make just a kind of a slow, tiny frying point. I think that's on a little bit of an angle. So it is a big thing. I'll join it and lay it there. Over the baked bean. Oh, look at that. Oh! Little squeeze. It's very close from the bottom. So first of all, let's turn back to being blue, right from the bottom there, and I'm going to show you how to catch your farts in a jar. Dave has been through a little bit of an inconvenience. Into the bath. Fire! Lid at the ready. Submerge right in there as well, and then fart. It's a bit rank. That reaction. Okay. Smells. Okay, so let's play with some foods around. Now, anyone ever had jelly tots before? Yeah? I love a jelly tot. The question is, how do you make these things into a jelly? And there are a few different methods for turning things into a jelly. One of them is this. It's nice, isn't it? So, ever had any Haribo sweets before? Yeah. That's why they're nice and chewy and jellified. So you boil up bones, and it makes gelatin, and it makes things really nice and sort of bouncy. Same with the marshmallows. And the reason those marshmallows are nice and sort of have that amazing texture is gelatin. It's got this extraordinary bounciness to it, this foamy bounciness. So all good stuff. You can get beef gelatin and pork gelatin. This is a nice foot. And if you boil it up yourself, then you can find out that it does exactly that. You know, you boil up some calf's feet and things like that. The whole thing becomes a beautiful mass of gel. But this is one of the other really interesting things that you can use. Now, if you ever have... how am I going to do this? If you ever have... no, I've pulled the whole thing off. Kind of low-calorie salad dressings. It's got that sort of oily sense to it, that oily feel to it, but it's got very few calories. Now, the way that you do that is actually by gels, so the same thing as jelly tots. And this is what you tend to use. Now, in here, I've got a combination of orange juice and apple juice and this is a secret one here, I'll tell you about in a second, and it's mixed together with something called an alginate. Now, sodium alginate it's really commonly used in food. It's an extract of seaweed, but it's got an extraordinary gelling capacity, so it will soak up huge amounts of water and hold it in this sort of nice firm gel. And you can do this with a bit of molecular gastronomy. You know, if you go to Heston Blumenthal's restaurant and a place like that where you play with caviars, then you can get these things, and they've been made very much like this. So you use an alginate gel, which I've made up here, really, really, really simple to use, and then it's poured into a bath of calcium carbonate. Sorry. We're not going to do gels. We're going to try and make jelly strings. Okay, so sort of basically spaghettis. So here we go. I don't know if you can see those. So as it comes out of there, as soon as it hits this calcium salt bath, it gets a little skin around the outside. So that. Oh, can you grab a little? I tell you what. Let's get some cups in the back of that black case. Right at the back, there should be some little cups. So hopefully, as it hits that calcium bath, it gets a little skin around the outside. It should still be nice and gentle and sort of jellified in the middle. And it looks like it hasn't quite set yet. We might leave it in there for a second while I do the next one. So this one is apple juice and alginates. So again, it is stuff that's sort of part of our daily life, but just used in a slightly different way. It's got lots of little bubbles in it as well. It's really cool. And very, very weird. Okay, that's beautiful. Whoa. Looks quite weird, doesn't it? Sort of creepy, and yet somehow a little bit wonderful. So I'm going to grab a few of those. No, they've fallen apart. Okay. Yeah, you need a little bit more time than I'm taking to do this, to be honest. You might be able to get something usable out of it. Oh! Does look like somebody's just pooed in it, doesn't it? All right, let's try that once more. Now that I've said that. A couple of little bits. There we go. All right. That one doesn't look like it's worked too well. Let's see if we can get the green one out. Oh, that's a little better. Oh, no, it fell off. There we go. All right. Oh, that's at the last minute. That's so annoying. Okay, do you want to let somebody have a little try of one of those? And then I'm going to see if I can do this last one. You need to leave it to set, really, for a couple of minutes, and we just haven't got that time. That's the trouble with a lot of these demos. You sort of need to be doing them with a bit more time on your hands. All right, we'll squeeze that over to the side, and then do this last one, which is hopefully going to hang together a bit better.
Green or orange?
Green one.
Mm. Doesn't smell of it.
So this is a clear one. Really strange.
Yeah. Tastes like apple juice?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's my secret one there. So anyone have a little try of that? Did you guys have a little try? So could you sort of sense the sort of jelliness to it? It's a kind of weird kind of gloopiness in there. It's quite interesting. And it should taste of, did it taste of, which one did you have, the orange or the apple?
We don't even like a taste.
Orange. And it tasted a little bit orangey. Only a little bit. Okay, so those, it's really interesting playing with these things, which are part of a lot of our sort of food world, but we're not really aware of it. Now, the other one that I've made here is really interesting. First of all, I'm going to show you a demo over here. Now, what I've got here is an ultraviolet light and 2 beakers with water in. Jim, can we turn the lights off for a sec? Fantastic, thank you. Now, hopefully there's enough light out of the room to be able to show you this. Where is it? Here we go. Okay, so this is ordinary tonic water. Anyone ever had a gin and tonic before? Yeah, very good. All right, you shouldn't have gin and tonic, it's very terrible. So I'm going to put some tonic water into a beaker of water and just mix them together and have a look at what happens. It glows a bright kind of light bluey white colour. Now this is quantum mechanics. What's happening is the quinine. So quinine is the stuff that gives tonic water that slight bitterness. And it used to be put in tonic water when it was first drunk in India, and people thought it was a prophylactic against malaria, which it was very, very briefly, and then it stopped being, but they kind of carried on drinking it because it tasted quite nice. And so that's the sort of the bitter compound that's in your tonic water. And what happens is those quinine molecules absorb ultraviolet light. So this is UV light, which is outside the visible spectrum. They absorb that light, but then they get excited, and the electrons in the molecule spin out. Because they've got extra energy from the UV light, they spin out to a wider orbit. But that makes them very, very unstable. So at that stage, they're essentially invisible. But what happens is, because they're unstable, that electron that's spinning out on a wider orbit comes back in. Because it's too unstable, it wants to get closer to the nucleus. To do that, it has to release what's called a photon of light, so a tiny little bit of energy. And that's what we're seeing here, is that release of energy as it drops down, as the electrons drop down from the wide orbit down to the lower one. So it looks sort of weird and kind of magical in a funny way, but it's quantum mechanics happening. It's just a little bit of quantum mechanics that's quite fun to play with. What you can also do is take quinine as an extract and just drop it straight into water, and then you can see on a much better sort of scale what's happening. So you have to look very closely to see this, because I haven't got the camera on it. But watch what happens when you just drop it straight into the water. Absolutely beautiful. So that is basically some just extraordinary but very simple quantum mechanics, and it's drinkable. So that is a glowing drink that you can sip yourself. It's really cool. And the tonic water as well. Now, interestingly, with tonic water, you can disrupt this reaction. You can disrupt how the quinine molecules work by adding some salt, and it's called quenching the reaction. So that's just a little bit of salt and water, and you can see that it just stops this whole sort of reflection of the light happening for you, and it can sit at the bottom there and slowly sink into the rest of it. So what I thought we'd do is combine the fact that we know that some weird foods can do some weird things like that, together with the weirdness of the alginates, and invent a brand new food. So what I've got here is, and hopefully they've had enough time to set. I'm not sure if they will or not. So let's put some water in there all over again. And then I'm going to put my jellies in, because I made these jelly strings, with quinine. So these are basically tonic water. Oh, they've hung together. Yeah, so leaving them in it for a lot longer helps a lot. So those are glowing jelly strings. That's worked quite well, actually. Yeah. Okay, so that's a little sip of them. I'm afraid I've been handling these quite a lot, so I don't think I can really share them. But if you squidge them, they're firm on the outside, but they're really lovely and soft in the middle. Take that apart. Oh, that's fantastic, yeah. Oh, it's basically jelly with sugar in the middle. But it glows! That's so cool. So it's just by playing with what you know about food, you can sometimes do some extraordinary things. Okay, can we have the lights back up again for a second? Because what I want to do is a little bit of remote control sort of physiological changes to your bodies. And what I'd like is 2 volunteers. So I think we should have one of the guys, one of the kids. Tim, do you want to choose one of the kids? And then I'd like an adult, please. The most respectable adult in the room. Who do you reckon, Tim? So you've got to choose the adult as well. It could be you. It could be you. I couldn't be drawn. He is respectable. He is. Brilliant. Hello there. Okay. Hello. What's your name?
Rosie.
Rosie. So when somebody goes, you shake that. All right. So you come over here, Rosie. Very, very good to have you up on stage. How exciting. Right. Okay. Now come up here. So Rosie, you stand here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to control. Now, do you have any food allergies? No, you're sure about that? Okay. Any food allergies? No? Okay. Want to step up next to Rosie over here? So, only penicillin. No penicillin here, we're fine. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to give you some foods that will control your bodies, will make you do certain things, which is quite fun, so we can force them to act in a certain way. So first of all, let's have one of those. So these are, do you know what these are?
Are these asparagus?
Well done, yeah, it's asparagus. So grab a couple of those, yeah. Grab a couple of those, go on, get in there, and eat those. So they're raw, so they taste a little bit like grass, but in a really lovely sort of kind of crunchy, firm way. So this is asparagus. Now asparagus does something really interesting. Within 15 minutes, both their wee will stink. And it's basically, it's sulfur compounds in the asparagus that interact. When you break them down by your metabolic process, you break them down and create a whole bunch of new sulfur-based compounds, which really smell really bad. It's a bit like horse wee. It's like if you've ever been near a horse doing a wee, it's like it really honks, but in a good way, I think. Okay, so you got stinky wee, which is good news. Well done. So next, we've got some of this stuff here. Okay, you finish that off. Go on, tuck it. And it only takes a little bit of this stuff to make it happen, and it should happen in about 15 minutes. I mean, if you go for a wee later on, then tell your teacher how long it took for you to get the stinky wee smell. Okay, you're doing brilliantly. Okay, so next up we've got this. Have a little bit of that. There you go. Grab some of that. You're a brilliant eater, you are. Fantastic. Okay, so chomp that down. Okay, so what do you think this is? You were good with the first one. Beetroot. She's really good. So this is beetroot. Now, beetroot's got some extraordinary dyes in them. Now, the thing about... So you're... As you metabolize food... As you metabolize food, first of all, you break it down mechanically in your mouth, and you add some enzymes there. Then it goes down your esophagus into your stomach. Your stomach is full of hydrochloric acid. That starts attacking food and breaking down the proteins. Basically, it's called denaturing proteins. Breaks them all down. And it breaks down loads of the components of food, but there are some components of food that you can't digest. After it's been in your stomach, in the acid, it goes through into your intestines, and that's, again, more enzymatic action, and it's crushed quite a bit. But again, there are some things that it can't break down. Then finally goes down to your colon, just before your bum. And what's that full of, your colon? Any idea? Billions and billions of... Bacteria. Now, bacteria are fantastic because they feed on the food, and they can break down quite a few things. But there's one thing that they can't break down in beetroot. Now, when you go for a poo... later on, don't be worried, because the first time I ate beetroot, I had a poo afterwards, and I was sitting there having a read, and everything was fine, and you literally get up and you and it looks like you've got a major problem. But it's just these dyes that you can't break down. You can't digest them. They're not broken down by acids or enzymes or mechanically or by bacteria. And so you will have nice, bright red poo at the end of this. So we're controlling their bodies in quite a good way. Okay? But this is a good thing. Because I just think it's quite fun. All right, so this is now... you probably can't guess what this is, but if you can, I will literally give you £10. Can you guess what it is? Thank God for that. All right, so there you go.
Thank you, sir.
Go on, have another one. We need to finish this whole lot off. There you go. And another one. Yes, you do have to. And Joe, there you go. You can have. There's no nuts in it. Don't worry. There we go. In fact, let's pass one of these out. Who else wants to come? This is the naughty table. Here, there you go. You can have some of those. Go on, have a little tickle. You're so shy. Go on, have a little try of that. So these are. I'll show you what it is now. And you might be able to guess from this. Anyone know what that is? Shout it out if you know.
Ginger.
Ginger. It does look like ginger. It's a very good answer, but it's not ginger. What else could it be?
Galangal.
It's not galangal. It looks very much like galangal. This is Jerusalem artichoke, otherwise known as Jerusalem fartichoke. There is nothing on earth that makes me fart any more than a Jerusalem artichoke. And it's really interesting. So I do a whole show about farting, and it's basically about biochemistry. Now, why does this make you fart so much? Well, it's got these sugars in them called inulin. Now, inulin is not broken down by hold on. It's not broken down by acids or by enzymes or by bacteria. Or by acids, sorry. It is broken down by bacteria, and bacteria absolutely love inulin. But there's a byproduct. Every time a bacterium feasts on the sugars that are in here, they let out a little bit of gas. But because there's billions and billions of bacteria in your colon, all feasting on this inulin, it creates a huge steam of this stuff. Now, I recommend, well, this is what I do anyway, when my mum comes over for Sunday lunch, what I do is I peel these, because they look a bit like potatoes. And they also taste a little bit potato. It's almost like I would say, a combination between potato and apple. It's got a slight sweetness, a little crunchy and everything, but they look exactly like potatoes. So peel them, put loads of them in amongst the roast potatoes, roast them all, and feed them up to Granny at the table. And literally, with my mum, she's got very fast metabolism, about 3 hours later, she's leaving the room every now and then, and occasionally just sitting at the table going, and blaming it on my cat. And my cat, I haven't ever heard my cat fart. Anyway, so this is basically to say that food, just ordinary food, can do some extraordinary things. Can you give them both a massive round of applause, guys? Well done. And yeah, have a good trip home. So ordinary food can take you on a little journey as well. Now, I think we're sort of running out of time. The last thing I'd like to show you then is some explosions, because last year we did quite a few explosions, not so many this year. So what we thought we'd do is show you one explosion first. Let's take that. Let's do that in there. So what I've got here is a little, I'm going to take that away actually, because it's going to get covered in muck. Put that down. So what I've got here is an old-fashioned film canister. Kids don't know what these are anymore. So an old-fashioned film canister. Watch out there, Joe. So I'm just going to turn this upside down and see what happens. Hopefully there's a little bit of magic going on in there. So huge. Hey! Brilliant. There we go. So, just rain down on me after. So, little explosion there. Now, what we've done is we've combined two ingredients to make them quite explosive. Now, what I'd like is a volunteer who will allow me to create an explosion in their mouth. And I think this should be one of the grown-ups. I think it should be one of the grown-ups. So, come on, guys. Who's brave enough to come up here? But fantastic, sir, if you can come up. So, what we're going to do... let's pop that there. Okay, so this is not going to be pleasant. I hope you're okay with that. All right, so do you have any allergies to any foods or any problems with eating anything? No. Brilliant. So, first of all, what you've got in here is it's an acid-base reaction. Did you do acid-base reactions when you were at school? Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, first of all, we've got our acid. So here's a little bit of acid. Let's everyone watch. So what's your name, sir?
Jesse.
Jesse. Hello, Jesse. I'm Stefan. Very pleased to meet you. So first of all, have a little bit of this. Okay, put your tongue on all the way, and pop that on there. And you can suck that and try and experience the sensation from that.
Acidy.
Acidy, so it's sour. Yep. So acid smell. Don't go on just grabbing acids in the lab, obviously, and tasting them. Okay, second one we've got here. It is quite sour. I gave you quite a lot because you were looking quite hard, and I thought I'd give you quite a lot. If you look quite cool, I'm going to torture you. What did I say? So that wasn't too bad because you've had sort of sours. So if you've ever had sour sweets before, they are literally just dosed in citric acid, and that's what that was, citric acid. Now it's an extract of lemons. You also get it from oranges, all citrus fruit basically. Very, very sour. And I once gave my daughter there's something called it was one of those really super sour sweets, and she loved it. And then she put her tongue out, and it literally shredded her tongue. There was about,
toxic waste.
Yeah, toxic waste. That's the stuff. It had literally taken the top layer of her tongue off. You're all right there. You're okay there. Right. So now, for now, exactly. That was the good bit, to be honest. This is. Do you want to grab another cup and fill it with water because this might not be that pleasant. All right. So that was the acid, and now this is the base. You're a very tall man, aren't you? All right. There we go. That's the base. And this is bicarbonate of soda, which is alkaline. Did you manage to get it? Brilliant. And now, can you explain it? I think it's quite difficult to explain. I wonder if you could explain what the experience is in your base. Now, what we're going to do, an acid-base reaction is when you combine the two, and they react together and produce a third substance, basically. So what we're going to do is we're going to create that now, and then you're going to eat it. Okay? So first of all, let's have 3 little teaspoons of citric acid. You just pop it in that bowl there. And there's some water there if you're feeling the need. Oh, I didn't watch that. How little was it? Just put one more in and show me? Oh, right, okay.
One there?
Yeah, go on. And one, and then get the one the same. Yeah, perfect.
All right.
I should be watching a bit more closely, frankly, shouldn't I? And we're going to put one of the base in. So a little bit more of the base. And then we're going to mix it together with a load of sugar to make it slightly less unpleasant. And this is exactly what was in the rocket there. So there was a little bit of lemon juice, which has citric acid, a little bit of bicarbonate, soda, which is the base. And because the lemon juice has liquid, it allows the two to mix together. And the reaction between the citric acid and the bicarbonate soda creates carbon dioxide. It builds up more and more inside the film canister until the lid blows off the top. So, are you ready for your acid-base reaction?
Don't make me throw up, is it?
Might do, I don't really care. This is my third attempt at making somebody throw up. It's got to happen. Okay, so just put it on. The trick is have a sip of water first. You need a little bit of moisture in your mouth because you start off the reaction by allowing them to mix together with a bit of liquid. Okay, so there you go. Let's take a nice big teaspoon of it. There you go, and then just keep it in your mouth for a second. And now, is it beginning to fizz a little bit? So stick your tongue out for us and show everyone over there. So what's happening is that the saliva and the water together are giving a medium which allows the two to combine. And the fizzing that you're experiencing is that reaction of carbon dioxide. Now this has another name, this substance here, and I wondered if you knew if you could put that name to it. What do you think it is? Oh, probably. Let's have another look. Yeah, he's phoned up. This is sherbet. So when you combine the two, and it is just sherbet. So whenever you buy sherbet from the shops, that is exactly what it is. Give him a massive round of applause for being very brave. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So that is. You can have some of this afterwards as well. That is all I've got time to be able to show you, so I'm going to have to stop there. If you take anything away from this, is that don't be afraid of science, because everyone who cooks, every time you cook anything, you are playing with chemistry, you are playing with science. You heat a pan and fry a steak or a piece of bacon, you're creating the Maillard reaction, you're playing with pan thermodynamics. It's all science, and kids find it fascinating when you start playing with that. So all I've got here is just a whole bundle. If anyone is around, I've got some of the books. I did a series called Incredible Edibles for CBBC. I've got some of the books there if you wanted to buy one. They've got loads of these experiments in that you can do yourselves. Guys, can you please give a round of applause to Joe? Because he has come. He's volunteered today. Whilst waiting for the rest of his life to happen, his MA in science communication, he's come to work for free for you guys today. So I'm really appreciative. Thank you very much. And thank you guys as well for being here, I think this is brilliant. Tim, you're an amazing guy, and well done for putting all together. And thank you guys for coming out. Do you want to grab that one there? So what we've got here is exactly the same thing as we made in the sherbet there, but it's just quite a few of them. So you ready? So you grab that, turn the whole thing upside down, take the lid off, and then hopefully we don't destroy the... Tim, you might need to clean your projection. Thank you very much.